All right, guys. So our next main topic here is going to be something I'm so happy to see back, and just something I've been missing it for a very long time, and that's if y'all remember back in like the early 2000s and late 90s, man, LucasArts, man, they were pumping out Star Wars games left and right. Most of them were actually good too, surprisingly. We got a ton of different kinds of games from them at the time. Like they were just popping off, and then just they went away. And then unfortunately, when George Lucas sold the Star Wars to Disney, Disney went out of their way and then signed over exclusive rights to the Star Wars games over to EA, which was the worst goddamn decision anybody could have made, given EA's track record at the time. And kind of EA has been turning it around lately. I mean, ever since Apex, man, they've been turning stuff around, like not putting monetization driven crap in all their games. Like it's still there, but it's not pay to win as like it used to be for like all their games at that point in time. But anyway, main thing here now that we're talking about is Lucasfilm Games is back in some way. Well, it's back as Lucasfilm Games. LucasArts is essentially back in some way under a new brand of Lucasfilm Games. And with that, it has essentially, I don't know how they got out of this, or maybe if we weren't reported to correctly as far as the EA actually having that 10-year contract with them. I don't know, maybe Disney bought them out of it or what, because with this announcement for Lucasfilm Games and all Star Wars games are going to be come out under Lucasfilm Games banner. On their little sizzle reel they showed all of EA's games, so like your Battlefront and your Jedi Fallen Order and whatnot, but then they showed like a lot of their older games and everything, and like some new upcoming ones like the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga game and all that. It's going to all have the Lucasfilm Games banner on it. And then also they announced 2 new games under this new banner, one being a open world Star Wars game with really no other details, unfortunately, about it, but coming from Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce it, who makes like the Assassin's Creed games and everything like that. So my mind immediately went to Assassin's Creed as far as, because this was being mentioned as an open world game and everything. And then we also got a little teaser trailer for something that has the potential for greatness, and that is well, I don't know about the Bethesda part, because Bethesda's like super hit and miss sometimes. But they're making an Indiana Jones game is coming out from Bethesda. So your Fallout, your Skyrim, good stuff, right? And then like a game that I don't think ever got enough love from Bethesda was Dishonored. I really loved the first one. Never finished the second one for whatever reason, but I loved the first one. So that's going to be exciting, because I mean, if you look at the success of Uncharted, which is pretty much Indiana Jones with a different name, the Indiana Jones game has a ton of potential to be amazing. So I mean, just given the fact that, I mean, even going back to like Tomb Raider and stuff, I mean, it's the same concept. So it has a lot of potential. The only it's both a blessing and a curse that is coming from Bethesda, because it could be your Fallout, whatever. What was the most recent Fallout that came out that was like just everybody hated? I can't remember what it was. I didn't play it. The one
76 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 76. Yeah, or then they had like the one that was supposed to be like the multiplayer one or something that was like broken as hell when it first came out. I forget what it was called.
I think that was it.
Was that it?
No, I think it's the same thing. Yeah, I don't think they've had a Fallout game since Fallout 4, I believe. I believe 4 was like the last
that's true
story mode. Yeah.
I never got into the Fallout franchise, so that was just something I missed out on. I never cared for it. Like, granted, I never actually fully played them through. I've bought them and like literally never played them. Kind of like Witcher 3. I've bought that. I've played it for like an hour, and I just never got back to it. And I know it's a great game. I've heard from millions of people, not directly, but indirectly heard from millions of people that they're great games. But I'm super excited about this Lucasfilm Games announcement, for the simple fact though that like I said off the top, back in the 90s and early 2000s, when LucasArts was a thing, man, they were pumping out so many good Star Wars games. Dude, like Pod Racer. I hope they make a new Pod Racer.
That was fun.
I hope they make dude, a lot of people with this Ubisoft one, they're kind of like the general consensus that I'm hearing from a lot of people is they think it's going to be a bounty hunter is going to be the character you're going to be.
That would be cool.
Here's the thing, I don't want that. Like I just feel like here's the thing. Let me throw this at you. I'd be fun. I'd play the game. Okay, if I'm just gonna be like a Mandalorian in an open world, I'm gonna play the game.
That'd be sick.
I'm gonna play the game, but let me just throw this at you. You can play Star Wars: The Old Republic right now, right? And when you play The Old Republic, you have a choice to choose your class, right? You can either be on the Empire, the Sith Empire, or you can be the Republic and the Jedi's and stuff. So you can be like a Jedi, a tank, a Jedi DPS, your Jedi healer, or whatever, or you can be a trooper, or you can be, just a smuggler, right? So you can be two different types of Jedis essentially, and then a trooper or a smuggler. And they have subclasses for them too. Then like on the Sith side, the same thing. You can be a Sith juggernaut, like a tank. You can be a Sith assassin. You can be a Sith sorcerer. Obviously, I played the Empire because I know all the names for those ones. And then you can be like an agent, like an operative, which is just like the smuggler for the other side, and then you can be a bounty hunter, which is just like the trooper on the other side. So they're the exact same thing, they're just on the different sides, right? But imagine playing a Star Wars game and playing a class that doesn't use a lightsaber.
Yeah, that would kind of suck.
It's like, why would you, like, you know what I mean? Like, when I've made, like, I have like 3 Sith sorcerer characters alone because I got like a level boost for it when I came back to that game, for instance, and I didn't feel like leveling. Like, I wanted to play my Sith sorcerer, but I didn't want to level it up because I had a free boost. So like, I literally have like 3 of them. Like, I don't want to play a game where I'm not using a lightsaber. All right, I got to use a lightsaber. Now, granted, I do like the option. Like, I just don't know how like excited I am about. Like, granted, this isn't like confirmed that you're going to be a bounty hunter or whatever through it, and I'm totally going to play it, and it could totally be amazing. There's plenty of games out there that are incredible where you don't use a lightsaber. So I mean, it's just like I said. Imagine playing a Star Wars game and not playing the lightsaber class.
Yeah,
Who's gonna do that?
would.
You know what I mean? Who's going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, if you were to play the Old Republic right now, John, and you saw like you could have a double-bladed lightsaber, or you could shoot force lightning, or you could have 2 lightsabers, or you could have just be a big Darth Vader with 1 lightsaber, or you could be a bounty hunter or an Imperial operative. Which one sounds more fun?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Like, I'll probably want to go with the lightsabers and the force and powers and shit. Like,
what you were saying is exactly true, and I think it's the reason that Battlefront. I think it's the reason EA lost exclusivity to the Star Wars franchise because they put all their chickens in the Battlefront basket, and Battlefront was just like you're a grunt with a blaster. Except occasionally you get a power up to be one of the special characters, and
they turned it around in Battlefront 2, though. They turned it around.
Sure. Well, after the debacle, of Battlefront,
they made it better.
Launch where like it was going to take 2 years to unlock Luke as a playable character for the average player,
or $2,000.
Or $2,000.
Yeah, because it was literally was pay to win. Yeah, 2,000 hours or $2,000. Which one? All right.
So I mean, I see what you're saying. I do. I believe I played at least one of my playthroughs, Knights of the Old Republic, kind of as a smuggler, and I didn't main lightsabers a whole lot with it. I played kind of with just the tech side of it. So. I could see doing it. Of course, I also played it with the lightsaber and going full Jedi on it too. So,
like when the option's there, it's like that's the thing. It's like when the option's there, I'm never not gonna choose to have a lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
So like in this situation, if they release a game where you are a Mandalorian and that's the game, like of course I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna like it. Like if it's good, right? Well, I mean, if you have an open world, if this game comes out and it's like you can choose to be a force wielder with a lightsaber or a bounty hunter with a jetpack and stuff, like I'm gonna choose the lightsaber. Okay, like I have to do it. That's who I am, man. That's who I am. Like, but
I think the idea of having like an open world Star Wars game, like a new version, come out, I think that's awesome. Like I would buy a gaming PC or console in itself just to play that. I mean, I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, so I'm a little biased, but I think it's cool that there's new possibilities for different kinds of games coming out, and Lucasfilm games or whatever they call it. I think that's cool.
Well, that's the thing. I hope with this one thing I want to see, which we'll kind of get into here with another one potentially, but and I was telling John about this the other day. Like, I always thought like it would be super cool. You have a game like Legend of Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, for instance. Like, think about that game. It's a big open world RPG game, single player, whatever. But I always thought it'd be amazing if you could just play that game co-op and like your buddy
Yeah.
could just jump into your game and just go along. The mobs will scale with you and your buddy based on your level and everything. But like you just go through and just play the game together. You know what I mean? Just like that would be amazing. So like I hope like I want to see a game like that come out. Like not necessarily exactly like that, but just a game that has some sort of co-op stuff. Because like we were going to get into it later, but for instance, like the Gotham Knights game that's coming out from Warner Brothers and everything, they've supposedly gone in and kind of reworked how the game even like works. I suspect this is probably has a lot to do with what Rocksteady did with their Suicide Squad games. So they probably wanted to differentiate it a little bit because they're both going to be coming around the same time. But they have gone in and tried to revamp the game to actually put more of a focus on co-op play. And I don't know. I just would really like to see that in like an open world game. Not that like this one, not that I want this Ubisoft one to actually do it, but I just hope now that we're gonna have all of these, other companies out there, these other developers are gonna be able to make Star Wars games now. I just hope we get some more stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because like the Battlefront games, like none of them lived up to the old Battlefront 2. Like in my opinion, none really lived up to it. They got the current Battlefront 2. I will give EA and DICE all the credit in the world for turning that game around and rebuilding everything, rebuilding how the unlocks work and all that stuff. Like adding in a ton of new heroes. Like, I mean, you can play as a lot of like different like actual hero characters, and the actual like hero versus villains game modes in Battlefront 2, not the first one. Battlefront 1 was a wash. Like it looked amazing and it was fun to play like the regular modes in that game, but the hero versus villains versions just sucked and they didn't have like any real options for it either. But Battlefront 2, man, they really turned that game around, and the heroes versus villains portion of it is like really fun. Like I actually have a lot, and it could be so much better though. Like granted, they could have more characters, the gameplay could be more fluid. The list kind of goes on, but for what it is an enjoyable game as it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could be better, but whatever. So I hope that we do get a Battlefront 3 and they can just kind of
learn from their mistakes. And
I think the biggest problem that they had with it, especially like in the first one, for instance, in the first Battlefront, they had to keep it consistent in the one time frame, so you didn't get any of the extra heroes. Like that, you only had it was in the original trilogy time period, so they were limited to who they could put in there. And then because they limited themselves that way, they didn't really put any work into the hero versus villains mode because there's only like 6 of them that you could be anyway.
yeah,
And then they really turned that around, like I said in the second one, because you could be. They had the Phantom Menace, the prequel characters were in it, Clone Wars characters were in it, new trilogy was in it, sequel trilogy was in it. Like they have just a laundry list of different characters you can be, and you can just play them all. What I really want is a game like Battlefront, like Battlefront 3, for instance. I'll even just say that DICE and EA can keep making it, but if they make a Battlefront 3, make it like just the best Star Wars experience of possible. Put every goddamn character that you can in that thing.
fan favorites.
Like, I mean,
Easter
everything.
eggs.
Like I put a
learn from the
in there,
Mandalorian.
Like, everything.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. Just put everything in there. Like go all out on it. Like
Lando would be a cool playable character.
well, they have Boba Fett. Like, and that's the thing too. It was really a shame because they just recently, like not recently, but within this past year, they ended the live service for Battlefront 2, and a lot of the devs came out and said that like one of the hero characters they were working on, they really wanted to get into the game was Ahsoka Tano.
Cool.
Because they did have the Clone Wars characters in there. They had Anakin, Obi-Wan, Grievous, whatever, and Dooku, and they really wanted to get Ahsoka in there. And then they also ended the live service right before Mandalorian popped off. So they, like as it stands right now, they weren't able to capitalize on the success of Mando. So like there's no Mando in the game. They could have had Mando and Ahsoka. Ahsoka could have had Clone Wars costumes and Mandalorian costumes. Like it could have just been cool, man. It could have been so much stuff. But that's what I want to see. I want to see them make a Battlefront 3 game, but actually have like just everything in it, dude. Throw the old Republic characters in it. Like
That'd be
throw
cool.
like
Call it like Battlefront Ultimate or something.
just Battlefront 3. Just have everybody in it. Like just all the characters possible. Throw them in it.
Put 'em in it.
Like they already
Like
exist. Just
Revan
do it.
and
Like yeah, everything.
Darth
Just
Mavic and
make the best Star Wars game possible. Damn it. That's all I want to see from any of them, really. So I'm just excited that all these other companies can finally do it because
write him a letter. Tell him what you
you know,
think.
I'm just saying, man. That's been like my biggest disappointment with Battlefront in general because I don't know. As a shooter, it's not the greatest shooter, and I think the biggest strength in that game is that, like the Star Wars aspect of it. So,
Yeah, the characters that drive the game.
you know what I mean. So like I don't know. At least I just like to see more of that being done. You know what I mean? Because it's fun playing the
True,
regular
true.
modes. Like it's not a terrible shooting game, but there's better ones out there. So like I just feel like if they leaned in a little bit more to the Star Wars stuff, like it'd probably be a little bit more fun. Is there any kind of game that like you want to see come out of this, John? Like style wise, though, you're excited to see?
I mean, you were talking about like the Breath of the Wild drop in. I'd like to see some co-op games. You know, I was really excited when I heard that Ubisoft was the ones they're developing a game because they specifically name dropped The Division, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I was hardcore into Destiny 1 when it was out. I love the idea of, you know, getting together with some friends online and going and doing a raid or going and doing some strikes. And then Destiny 2 came out and ruined that for me. But that being said, I still like I like the looter games. You know, when you say looter shooter, it specifically kind of points to shooting games. But obviously, that with Star Wars, you wouldn't necessarily just be shooter games. There'd be other elements to it. So I don't want to just call it a looter shooter, but I like the looter type games, like where you get together with some friends and run some strikes, run some raids, do whatever. That aspect was really enticing because the Division. Sorry, I kind of dropped the lead there. The Division was one of those style of games, and I like the Division too. I played that quite a bit too, at least for the first one. And for all the problems it had, I still had fun with it. And I think that could be a lot of fun. I also think the idea of maybe an RTS game set during the Clone Wars could be kind of fun. If they decide to go that route or something. They've also, you know, they're making a big push for the High Republic and their new initiative with that. I kind of wonder if it's just a matter of time before we get some sort of game set during that time period too.
I'm sure
So,
we will.
yeah, I'm super excited that the license is not exclusive. Like you said, that was such a mistake on their part when they bought it. My only thinking is that because they laid out such a chunk of change to acquire the Lucas license or Lucasfilm license, that EA must have stepped up and given them a nice little chunk of change to have the exclusive rights, and it helped offset their books for that quarter or that fiscal year, just to make their books look a little bit better. And that's the only rationale I can think of for why they gave them that exclusivity.
I just think they
So
squandered it, like on EA's, and not that they just made bad
Oh,
games.
sure.
It's just they didn't make enough. Like you have Battlefront and Fallen Order, and that's it. Like you didn't make any other Star
Squadrons.
Wars games.
You got
Oh, yeah, I guess
Squadrons
Squadrons too. Squadron is just so niche,
But it's
and it came out
it's
right at
at
the
the
end.
I got an
Sure,
idea
but-
when you guys get a chance.
Yeah,
go
whatever.
ahead, throw it
Yeah.
out there.
A Mortal Kombat style Star Wars game.
Yeah,
where you
fighting
could-
game.
Yeah, like where you can be anything from a Jedi, a Sith Lord, a Mandalorian, bounty hunter, whatever. But you know, like have lightsaber combat aspects to it. Have like the Force in there, and make it to where like obviously it's fair, character versus character and all that. But like I would play the hell out of something like that.
Yeah, I mean they have the roster to do it,
That's
and
what I'm saying.
also the
Sure.
gameplay and with the characters they have, both with like you know bounty hunters and scoundrels, troopers, and force users and stuff, really lends itself to the ARPGs like Diablo and Path of Exile.
Yeah.
Like you could totally make a Star Wars ARPG and it would totally work, and you could have a ton of different classes because you have your like tanky kind of class with just like a one lightsaber. You also have some mage kind of stuff or wizard kind of stuff with you know force lightning and just regular force powers and shit. Like, there's a lot you could do with it. I would play the hell out of a Star Wars ARPG game. It'd be fun.
It would be really cool in a Star Wars fighting game to see, like, I'm thinking off the top of my head, like obviously I'm not sure that you'd go full on finishers like Mortal Kombat style
Yeah.
finishers,
Yeah, it wouldn't.
but you could have some like what if you played like what if you kind of mained Anakin on that, and like every time you had the option to finish someone or your ending, whatever your ending move was, like what if you decide to decapitate him, a la Attack of the Clones Dooku style, and like what if that then those decisions started influencing the look of your character, like you started to become more dark side looking,
Yeah.
and and then it would
That's it.
fluctuate back and forth. It would add just a little cool like element to your playing, which would, if you wanted to make your character more light side and more good, you could do that by choosing more
You could have
pacifist
like a
endings or
custom
whatever.
character maker too, like have all the main
Mhm.
characters and stuff like that, but have the ability to set up and create your own character in that universe.
Yeah, you could pick out move lists and
Yeah,
like
like
different.
weapons,
Yeah,
and light side, dark side.
very cool.
Yeah.
There's a
I like
lot they
that
can do.
idea.
That's what I'm excited about, though, is like now, and I even was reading something or watched something of it when I think it was a video they made, but they said that like Lucasfilm Games said that like they always get like there's tons of people out there who want to play in their world, like in the Star Wars world. Like they get tons of pitches on a regular basis from just every studio you can imagine coming to them with ideas for a game. But like now they can actually go through with these things as they get good ones. So like that's what I'm excited for, is having, Bethesda making an Indiana Jones kind of, game. You have both like, you have the company that made Fallout and Skyrim, great open world RPG games, and like so there's some weight to that. It gives some anticipation, some actual credence to having this Indiana Jones game be successful. It's coming from a reputable place, as opposed to there was just so many question marks with like EA. Like
Yeah.
especially when like even when Fallen Order was coming out, before anybody got any gameplay or any news on it at all, it was coming from EA and it was coming from Respawn, and Respawn had really only been known for like shooters at that point. So there was just so many question marks in the air of just like, well, how's this Jedi game going to work coming from these companies? You know what I mean? It's like turned out fucking great. Fallen Order is probably one of the best Star Wars game we've had in the last 10 years, easy. But so I'm excited for Fallen Order too.
So do you think in this day and age of, we just got Final Fantasy VII remake this past year, we've gotten lots of remakes of other games, and it tends to be a trendy thing to do is update the graphics and the gameplay. How long do you think it is before we get a KOTOR remake? Do
Never
you
gonna
think
happen.
somebody's going to pick that up? You don't think
That'd
so?
be cool.
No, there was fans were making it. Fans were going through, and actually there was a project for them remaking KOTOR 1 in Unreal Engine, and
Yeah.
Disney made them shut it down.
Oh,
It's not going to happen.
yeah.
You don't think they're like? You don't think they shut it down because they have plans to do it? Possibly.
No, because they killed it before. They were going to make a KOTOR 3, and trust me, I just want KOTOR 3. I don't care about them remaking it, like,
Sure.
but they I would love for them to remake it. I just don't think it's going to happen, given the track record that they've had with that franchise. For whatever reason, they just seem to like not want to like. They were going to make KOTOR 3, that got killed, and then they went on with the Old Republic, and then like they still service that game, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's like they haven't done as much work as like, granted it's not as successful as World of Warcraft, but they haven't put as much work into it like that Blizzard's has. Blizzard's gone in and like they may still use the same engine that they've used for the last 15 years, but they at least were able to go in and update the engine enough to get like new textures in there that actually look nice for today's standards, kind of thing, and like KOTOR, or not KOTOR, but SWTOR, the Old Republic, it still looks the same it did when it came out 11 years ago. Like, and it's like they haven't updated anything. I don't know what it is about like that. Like, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to want to make the Old Republic be as good as it should be, because it's literally the best thing we've gotten out of Star Wars, arguably ever, but definitely since the original trilogy. There's been nothing as good as KOTOR lore at all in Star Wars, in my opinion. Like that lore,
The lore is cool.
is untouched outside of the original trilogy. You can say the original trilogy is the best, and I won't argue with you, but nothing else comes close to the KOTOR lore. Like,
I tell you what, I think within the next 2 years, I think we hear an announcement that they're remaking Knights of the Old Republic. I think that the fan base is just, I think it's there for it. I think the fan support is there for it. Disney's
I don't know.
Disney didn't go back and like, while it may be extended universe and not canon for them, they didn't go back and like when they were developing this High Republic thing that they're starting now, they didn't jump all the way back to, KOTOR days to set it in. They set it only a few hundred years before
Mhm.
Battle of Yavin, and so I really think that they haven't specifically talked about that era or done anything with it
Oh,
because
they have.
they're just waiting. They're waiting to do something with it.
Yeah. Kennedy's talked about it before. She's been asked about it before, and she has said that like they have plans or things have been talked about it, but I just don't know. Like the only other thing is too with what makes me think a KOTOR remake won't happen is because of the combat style of being like turn based as it is. It's
Well, but
not
that's
something
why,
that a lot of people today really care about. That's why
Yeah.
I would really think a
sure,
third
but I thought you
one
might
was new,
see
but
an update to the combat style. Like
they couldn't
when I'm
change it
talking
though.
remake, I'm not talking like they're just bringing it
Retexturing
straight.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
They
thinking that they
can't do
may.
it though. You can't change a game like that and then expect it'd be a waste of money because you'd have so many people pissed off about changing the game.
You
That's how
think
it was
so?
when 100%.
People
Like
are used to what they're
when
Is
used
that
to.
is that is
classic
that what they
WoW
like? I never played Final Fantasy VII. The first, I don't know if you guys did, but I never played the first Final Fantasy VII, and I didn't play the update, so
yeah,
I'm not sure. But I know it's a beloved game, and my impression was that the old game was the kind of turn-based RPG style game, and I thought they updated the combat and stuff for the remake.
I don't
I'll
know.
have to, I'll have to look at.
I never played any Final Fantasy games other than
Neither
Final
have I.
Fantasy 14, the MMO one. I played a little bit of the MMO. Like I've just
Okay.
it's another franchise like Fallout that I just never got into, just from an aesthetic
It's an
standpoint.
in-depth franchise
Yeah.
too.
Like I don't know. I never got into it. I think you're 100% right that they did update the combat and everything, but I don't know the direct comparison. All I know is as a lifelong World of Warcraft player, when they announced WoW Classic, the #1 motto was no changes. Like the community wanted absolutely no changes. If they changed anything, like they did quality of life stuff, like they changed a couple of things, just like how things function as far as like bugginess, we'll say. Like, but they didn't change a single thing, like at all. And I feel like with
Mhm.
KOTOR, it'd be this: you run the risk of doing the same
See, but
thing if you remake it and change it. You run the risk of
what if it releases
alienating.
alongside the classic game? Like you buy a copy of KOTOR remastered and you get the updated game with the updated changes, but you also get a ported version of the classic game, and then you have your option. Because I just think
If you
there's
could toggle it on and
as
off,
much
I
as,
think it'd be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
well, not even toggle. Like you have to do, because I think there's I mean, KOTOR's how old now? We're talking like what, 15 years at least.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Yeah.
So there's a whole generation of kids that don't know that game and don't know that world, and they won't because they're not going to go back and play a turn-based game. But if you update the look and you update the combat and do a remaster or a re-release of it, there's a whole generation of gamers out there that would, well, can you imagine the amount of streamers that would like play it and like
Oh yeah.
I think there's a place for it. I
agree.
I understand the idea that you don't want to. It's beloved and it's a classic, and you don't want to, for lack of a better word, shit on it. Like you don't want to, change it.
Yeah.
But as long as they release a ported version of the old one, so you have your option. Like I can still play my classic KOTOR if I want.
If
Here's
you
this
could
shiny
toggle it
new
on and
different
off,
version.
for sure. Yeah, I think it'd be fine. I just
Okay.
don't think they could remake it. I wouldn't do it, at least, because I wouldn't want to risk alienating the audience. Like, because like it's like the majority of people who would be buying a KOTOR game are people who played KOTOR.
Yeah, yeah, because
It's not going to be new games.
they want to go back to it.
Yeah. If they made a new installment of it with like just a KOTOR 3 or whatever, then yeah, it could have updated gameplay. I would definitely not want it to be turn-based if they made one now. I would honestly prefer them to make a game that played a lot more like Fallen Order or like Dark Souls or Demon Souls or whatever, that kind of
Yeah,
gameplay
that would be cool.
is very well suited for like, because it worked really good in Fallen Order. So if they just made a like just make Fallen Order set in KOTOR times, that's fine. Like I would play that, you know what I mean? Because like unfortunately the gameplay is just not something turn-based wise like that people of today would care about. I think it's fun and fine. Like, I mean, hell, it worked for Pokemon for the last 20 years. Like
There you go.
that's still just turn-based text combat to this day, which is the biggest complaint I have about Pokemon franchise at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I hope though, if I could make them come back and come out with any game, it would be some form of KOTOR. Like
Mhm.
whether it's just set in the time period or just if I could get KOTOR 3, I would take KOTOR 3 so they could just continue the story. But I'd be good with any game being set in that time period too, as long as it's a good game.
I'm waiting on that fighting game. That would be so cool.
I mean, I could see them doing that too. It just, I don't know. You're just kind of limited with fighting styles in that, and with that is the only kind of problem, really. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to be a little bit inventive and creative with it, because you'd have to, like, for like a Force user, for instance, you'd have to make it to where, like, you know, your Palpatine would obviously be different because of the Force lightning, right? So you'd kind of exploit that and make that be his thing. But then, like, Luke and Vader would, for the most part, have pretty similar fighting styles. Like, they just both use one lightsaber.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
you could have
But
Vader
you
using
got your
chokes
force
and-
chokes. You got yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to be real
Force
creative with
lifting
that
and-
kind of stuff to make it, like, to make each character feel different.
And then make like the shooting characters, say like bounty hunters or smugglers or whatever, just make them OP so it equals out against somebody like with a lightsaber.
Well, you just make the
Yeah,
damage
I mean-
scale. That's
Yeah.
just because, I mean, the best people to do that, in all honesty, would be NetherRealm, because they've done it with their Mortal Kombat characters who use like swords and stabs and things like that, and they've done it with DC characters who don't have fatalities and things like that, and you wouldn't have fatalities in the Star
No,
Wars.
They've brought in like Leatherface and
Mhm.
Predator and Aliens and just all these characters from other
Yeah.
genres
Darth
too.
Vader.
So yeah, they definitely have.
No, Vader.
Darth Vader
He was
That was in
Soul
Soul
Calibur
Calibur.
4. Yeah. I think it was 4.
Soul Calibur.
Yeah, Yoda and Darth Vader in the Xbox
Yep.
and PS3 version. Yeah, it was PS3.
Only Soul Calibur game I ever bought because of that.
Yeah. No, I had the one before that was Spawn.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta get that. Like, you put Spawn in it, I'm gonna buy it. They put Spawn in Mortal Kombat 11, and I bought it.
Yeah.
Like, you put Spawn in the game, I'm gonna buy the game. Like, just how it works. Same with these. You put Star Wars on it, I'll probably buy it. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I mean,
even
just-
though, like, yeah, I want to play the Jedi character. You make a bounty hunter game, I'm gonna buy it. Granted, I'm not gonna buy the Lego game because I just don't really care for those games. They're fun, but I don't know.
Yeah, not my thing. Really.
Not something I care about playing, like, really. But I don't know. I'm excited either way. I'm just excited to have some new takes on like the Star Wars games, and like Lucasfilm or Lucas Games be its own thing again. Like, that's what excites me more than anything. So, well, guys, let us know what you think about this. What kind of Star Wars game are you looking forward to the most? Are you looking forward to like the ones that have been announced, like your Ubisoft open world Star Wars game? Are you excited for that? Are you excited for Fallen Order 2, a Battlefront 3? Like, these ones are kind of foregone conclusions, right? We know these ones are going to happen, like the Indiana Jones one too. But like, what game out there are you looking forward to most that hasn't been announced that you would like to see? Like Rick said, he'd like to see a fighting game, like, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter kind of thing, but with the Star Wars characters. That could be fun. I don't know. There's tons of stuff. I'd like to see another KOTOR. I'd like to see just something. There's just so many options now. I'd love a remake of Pod Racer, though. That'd be a great game. That'd be really fun to have. So let us know what you guys think and what game you want to see down in the comment section below.